Aeromancies are those with the ability to generate and manipulate the varying forms of the air. The most fitting example of this particular school being the Confederacy's own Tauren Lorendon, the child of the Immortal commonly referred to as the Bone Carver. Tauren Lorendon, born in the year 9680 on the farming world Apophis III, situated within the third quadrant of Confederate space, lived in a small community of some 1,000 souls. They spent their days in the near-endless fields covering much of the planet, a marvel of terraforming from some lost age when the Confederacy was but a distant dream, and their nights gathered in the local villages clustered around the main thoroughfares, themselves winding along the dreaming, neatly partitioned landscape. Upon speaking to the elderly patriarch of one of the more prominent families, a man whose age dwarfed my own 2 centuries by almost 3 times, I found he remembered seeing the storm from a distance of many kilometers away, which has been corroborated by footage from a passing satellite. The settlement has since been rebuilt, to say nothing of the practicality of the Confederacy. The Bone Carver was the only survivor of his young awakening, an Avil term for the manifestation of their own metaphysical abilities that has since been applied to the children of the Immortal and Matriarch. During the year 9684, a weather satellite passing over the region, itself thousands of kilometers from any body of water sufficient to produce the phenomenon, registered a sudden violent change in pressure and wind speed. Obeying what may be termed the child priority within their systems, the satellite assumed stationary orbit and was immediately overridden by one of the artificial intelligences the Confederacy somehow keeps leashed to their command. It then notified Black Acquisitions, the elite arm of the mainline Corsairs, an exploratory branch of the Confederate Guard's own military and naval forces, responsible for high-risk undertakings considered beyond the scope of regular military. The landlocked stationary hurricane left nothing remaining above stone foundations over an area spanning nearly 30 kilometers. Tauren's awakening and the resulting violence left him deeply traumatized, varying wildly in behavior, from a nearly comatose state to spectacularly dangerous and vicious psychotic outbursts, and unable or unwilling to speak or communicate in any way beyond sobs, grunts or bestial roars. Children of the Immortal or the Matriarch, as well as the beings themselves, are considered to be a class of their own above and beyond the others in the overall scheme of magic practitioners. They have come to lie within the singular group I call paragons or omnimancies, individuals exhibiting creation and control of all elemental forces, from earth to death, in one form or another. The specifics of the young Tauren's life between his arrival on Makar and his first bouts within the Central Colosseum are still closely guarded and have been speculated wildly upon over time. Suffice to say, by the time of his first appearance in the arena his abilities, as formidable as they remained, had been stunted to the point where I feel he is comfortably reclassified as an aeromancer. In spectacular berserker fashion over many recorded contests, utilizing his talents in combat in the intuitive manner that all children of the Immortal have been recorded to show, Tauren displayed all the vicious and violent things the invisible force that surrounds and succors us is capable of. Bodies fell to and fro, armor bent and broken, covered in deep wounds or missing limbs from pockets of highly pressurized air shaped instinctively into blades and projectiles. The gigantic Bone Carver rushed about the sand and stone on blasts of wind, drawing opponents into violent crushing invisible voids, wild small-scale cyclones barreling through the arena tossing foes like smashed and shattered toys. One moment in particular has been forever imprinted on my mind, displaying the effects of a high-pressure blast of air directed into the open mouth of a caught individual. From what I have discovered thus far, an air manipulator of sufficient aptitude and raw ability can learn to master a limited number of specializations that are nonetheless extremely formidable. They can become a typhomancer, rendering breathable air toxic by the alteration of different gases and particles, or an electromancer, a class shared with their peers the pyromances, exciting air particles to generate lightning. They may even attain status as an etheromancer, specializing in vacuum to create incredible atmospheric phenomena that may even approach outright gravitational manipulation, though if such a thing is possible, I would lay that in the jurisdiction of another of the elements.